In the middle of the 20th century, prior to the discovery of punctuated equilibria, paleontology was seen as providing limited insight into mechanisms of evolution. As a result, two important types of information well known from the fossil record were typically ignored. Both provided strong evidence for punctuated equilibria. The first was the largely absent evidence for gradual change between closely related species, although this was interpreted as an artifact of an imperfect fossil record. The second was the prevalence of evolutionary stasis. One oyster species is not seen to slowly and gradually transition into another species in the rocks from Kansas or elsewhere. Niles, Eldredge, and Stephen J. Gould, the founders of Punk-Eq, recognized that many scientists, including some paleontologists, were ignoring relevant data. This was because scientists had been conditioned to look for slow and steady change in the fossil record, such that they were blinded to evidence against it. Identifying Punk-Eq meant that the phyletic gradualist view on how small evolutionary changes over short timescales, or microevolution, translated to large evolutionary changes over long timescales, or macroevolution, was incomplete. Punk-Eq helped reintegrate paleontology with evolutionary biology in several ways, but there are four central themes. The first was considering the evolutionary and paleontological implications of the dominant mode of speciation, allopatry, and associated that speciation was about branching, not just transformation. The second was emphasizing the reality of species as fundamental units of evolution. Species should just not be viewed as ephemera and parts of a continua, but rather as having a distinct birth and death with a much longer persistence in between. The third was recognizing that rates of evolution and extinction vary considerably through time. And the fourth was realizing that natural selection was so powerful that it should not take hundreds of thousands or millions of years to produce the types of differences that separate closely related species. Instead, this should happen in a few thousand to tens of thousands of years, which was a paleontological blink of an eye. Not all of these ideas and contributions were unique to Punk-Eq, but by viewing the relatively discrete but small jumps between species as real and stasis as real, Eldredge and Gould accomplished something that had been a long time coming. They brought paleontology back to the high table of evolutionary biology and reforged the connection between micro and macroevolution.